Professor Tony Diaz, El Libro Traficante. This is Nuestra Palabra, Latinos having their say. We are with the amazing Delia Garcia, and we're celebrating her book, Latina Leadership Lessons, 50 Latinas Speak. This segment's called Guts. We talk about exactly what the book is created, how it's created, what it's about. So Delia, tell us about the makeup of the book.
Yes. So these 50 women in here are from 3 generations, 25 states, various background industries, including we have NBC contributors, TV contributors, members of Congress, United States ambassadors, DACA, Dreamer students, Dreamer moms, organizers.
Shout out to the Houston
scientists.
women in there.
The Houston women, United States Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, and then Judge Lina Hidalgo. But the 3 generations of women are, and all these women are people I worked for or worked with or were part of my staff.
So these are not just random folks.
These are all
You've
women
got a relationship
with every single one
Love
of them.
it.
And I've learned something from every single one of them. And I was like, okay, the whole world needs to know this. So let's put this all in a book. Because I could write about a lot of stuff, but I asked them all one question, and the same question. And that is, what are the top 10 leadership lessons you've learned in your life thus far? So whether you're 20 or whether you're 47 or whether you're in your 60s or 70s, what is that? And then also my amazing mentor, she wrote the Dolores Huerta civil rights icon.
Wow, that's awesome.
She wrote the
Powerful
forward.
words.
Yes. And so she also was like, come on, you gotta do it. I'm like, well, you too. So it was cool to have her write the forward, and she's been with us at some of our events. And so hopefully she'll come to one of the next events that we have together.
That'd be beautiful.
But yes, I mean, she's 94. She acts like she's 24. The energy, and she is the epitome of what these women represent, and sort of, the important advice each of the women gave.
And I think what's really powerful, there's many powerful things about the book, but one of them is that each of them could be their own life story,
Yes.
their own memoir, but they contained it to a writing sample,
Yes.
but then also an actual list.
Yes.
Why did you want to get each woman's list?
Because I think for me, having been in some of the work I'm in and organizing, I like to see boom, boom, boom. Also, it's an easy read. And I wouldn't suggest reading it all in one night. Definitely not. Even though it's my book, I wouldn't. I like to share the example of my mother. She read the book and she's like, Mija, I'm going to read 2 women each night. And she did.
That's awesome.
And then she would come and share what she learned.
Do you have to read them in order? Or?
No. And like I said, they're from various, or whatever the industry you're interested in, military or whatever, other writers, they're in here. A lot of elected officials, because that's my, jam, my space. So, but, it'll inspire you to, if you want to switch careers or what have you. But the advice, one thing I want to highlight that was a beautiful aha moment for me in writing the book was many of these women don't know each other, but they basically said the same thing. That at the end of the book, I summarize what are the top 10 most common between the 50 women.
Wow.
And, it sort of sounds like a no-brainer, but it actually, you mix it with the cultura and the corazón and the alma, like all of it, it makes sense. But the way the women put it, I like to also share it that way, especially when I read parts.
It is very deep too, because I think some of it, what you said, like a no-brainer, like obviously, but some are very deep. And I think also even ones that seem like we could take for granted, it's touching that as a man, I'm like, oh my goodness, I really don't understand some things about my wife, my sister, my dear friends, that these are essential things that I take for granted, but maybe women have to be reminded of.
Absolutely. And I could share one of those.
Please.
Like I said, I summarized, I say we, because I feel like we did it together. One of the top ones was like believing in yourself. And I like to say like, be chingona. Poderosa, however you want to say it. And yes, I have stolen it from Sandra Cisneros and repurposing that word. I know, like, my tia would probably be really mad at me if I said that right now. But but it's in that empowerment word and what it all entails. And then the important reminder of self-care. So I like to say the sana colita de rana part of whenever when I'd fall when I was a little girl, and my tia would say, or my abuelita would be like, "Oh, just gotta hear them, you rub it, sana sana, colita de rana." Like that. This book does that. When whoever the reader is, and just the important pieces of having a mentor and being a good listener and asking for help. Those things of being reminded, like I shared earlier, like I had to be reminded myself, and I wrote the book. And so I'm glad you said what you said about sometimes you to understand and connect with your wife or sister, like it needs to be said sometimes, and so it was beautifully said and put by some of the women in here. So you get a different take on each of the women's 10 lessons.
It's beautiful, and I think it's a really wonderful book for men and women to really buy it for themselves, for people they love. Of course, we're so happy that if you go to nuestrapalabra.org, you can get a signed copy. So you've touched the copies, you've signed them.
Yes.
And even when we have a whole segment where you were signing them, you said it's like signing a love letter.
Yes.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all that you do and for being part of our movement.
Thank you, Tony.